Welcome to today's Explainer. All right, I want you to picture a really moody, rainy afternoon. You know, the kind of day where the sky is just heavy and gray and everyone is frantically rushing around to get out of the wet. Well, a 14-year-old kid named Ethan is walking home from school, head completely down against the drizzle, when something catches his eye. Right there, tucked away beside the gnarled roots of this huge old tree, is a soft, unmistakable glow. So, naturally overcome by curiosity, he kneels right down in the mud and picks it up. And what he's holding is this tiny, beautifully intricate glass bottle. And floating inside of it, perfectly suspended, is a glowing golden clock.
So put yourself in Ethan's shoes for just a second here. Seriously, what would you do if you held that kind of power in the palm of your hand? If you could literally hit the pause button on the universe around you, freezing everyone and everything, but only for exactly 10 seconds. It's a pretty fascinating thought experiment, right? Because it perfectly bridges the gap between our completely ordinary, everyday reality and the absolute peak of magical fantasy. I mean, we've all wished for just a little more time at one point or another. But this specific limitation, just 10 fleeting seconds, well, that changes the equation entirely.
Okay, let's dive into this. Attached to this glowing, mysterious little bottle is a handwritten note, and it bears a very specific message. Use wisely, it can stop time for 10 seconds. Now, Ethan is your completely typical 14-year-old kid. He reads this, looks around the empty, wet street, and he literally laughs out loud. Okay, this must be a joke, he thinks. Somebody clearly left a weird toy out in the rain just to mess with people. But you know, human curiosity is an incredibly powerful thing, and the physical temptation of that bottle's cap is just too much for him to resist. So he grips the cap, gives it a firm twist, and in an instant, reality just shatters.
The world completely freezes. And the way our source describes this breathtaking moment is absolutely vivid. The very raindrops falling from the sky simply hang right there in the air, suspended like millions of tiny little glass beads. Birds, right in the middle of frantically beating their wings, are suddenly frozen mid-flight like a photograph. The noisy rushing cars on the nearby street, they stand completely motionless. Silence just instantly drops over everything. The entire world is put on pause, and in this frozen environment, there is literally only one moving variable left: Ethan. Only he retains the ability to walk, to breathe, and to interact with a world that has suddenly become a giant living statue.
But here is the catch, and it's a massive one. 10 seconds. That is the strict, totally unyielding limit of this bottle's power. 1, 2, 3, 4, it goes by incredibly fast. And just as suddenly as the world stopped, it violently snaps right back into motion. The rain furiously splashes into puddles, the birds chirp and fly away, the car engines roar back to life. Ethan is just standing there, completely drenched now, his eyes wide as saucers in sheer disbelief. The realization hits him like a freight train. The magic actually works. It's real. But man, it is profoundly fleeting.
Now, predictably, a teenager who suddenly gets ultimate cosmic power doesn't immediately turn into a superhero. At first, Ethan completely squanders this incredible gift on the most trivial, selfish conveniences you could possibly imagine. Day one, he totally forgets an assignment, so he just pauses time right at his desk to frantically scribble down his homework before the teacher even notices. Day two, he oversleeps. No problem. He just stops time to literally outrun the closing doors of his school bus. Day three, he actually freezes the clock on the athletic field to steal the ball and win a football match. He's basically treating this magnificent reality-bending artifact like a video game cheat code for his average teenage life.
Now, what's really interesting about this is that there's an ominous consequence to Ethan's actions. The universe, or maybe the magic itself, is basically keeping a ledger. Every single time Ethan twists that cap to use the bottle for some cheap thrill or a selfish little shortcut, the glowing golden clock inside the glass becomes just a little bit dimmer. The brilliant, radiant light actually starts to fade into this dull, tired yellow. The magic isn't an infinite resource, right? It's a battery, and Ethan is actively draining it away on things that ultimately just do not matter.
Well, this brings us to one seriously fateful afternoon, and the pacing of Ethan's life is about to drastically slow down, forced into sharp, truly terrifying focus. He's walking home, probably thinking about what petty little thing he's going to use the bottle for next, when he suddenly hears a shout. He looks up and spots a little girl. She's joyfully chasing a stray balloon. Her eyes are completely fixed on the sky, and she's totally unaware that a pursuit has led her straight off the sidewalk and directly across a busy, roaring road. And barreling down that exact lane is a massive, speeding truck. The driver hasn't seen her. There's absolutely no time to brake.
So look at this terrifying juxtaposition. On one side, you have the deadly, completely unstoppable momentum of a multi-ton truck hurtling down the asphalt. On the other side, Ethan's tiny, unforgiving window, exactly 10 seconds of frozen time. This is a rapid, life-or-death decision. Without even thinking, without hesitating for a second to consider if the bottle even has enough magic left, Ethan reaches right into his pocket, grips the cap, and violently twists.
The world snaps to a dead halt. The truck's deafening roar goes totally silent. Massive tires lock in midair above the pavement. Ethan sprints. His heart is pounding out of his chest. He grabs the little girl, slips on the wet asphalt, and desperately yanks her backward onto the sidewalk. And at that exact millisecond, time resumes. The truck violently rushes past them with this massive gust of wind, occupying the exact physical space where the little girl had been standing just a blink of an eye ago. The girl is perfectly safe. But in Ethan's pocket, there's a sharp, shattering sound. He pulls the bottle out. It's cracked right down the middle, and a brilliantly warm golden light is violently escaping from the glass, rushing straight up into the sky.
As the light bursts outward, the original note attached to the bottle miraculously rewrites itself right in front of his eyes. The ink swirls around and shifts into a profound new message. It reads, "True magic is not in stopping time. It is in using your time to help others." Ethan reads these words just before the cracked glass completely crumbles. The bottle turns to fine dust right in his hands and simply disappears into the afternoon breeze. The magic is gone, forever. But the lesson it left behind? Well, that has just been permanently etched into Ethan's soul. You know, this wasn't just some crazy random afternoon for Ethan. It was quite literally the defining moment of his entire life. He completely internalizes the bottle's final lesson. He suddenly realizes how incredibly hollow all his previous selfish uses of the magic actually were, compared to the profound, overwhelming feeling of saving that little girl. Fast forward years later, and Ethan isn't looking for shortcuts anymore. He actually becomes a professional rescue worker. He dedicates every single day, every hour of his adult life to helping people in danger and saving lives. He traded a magical, supernatural shortcut for a lifetime of genuine, hard-earned heroism. So the crucial point here is pretty profound. Sure, sometimes on a really exhausting day on the job, Ethan probably misses having that magic bottle in his pocket. But then he remembers the beautiful moral it taught him. Ethan's greatest power was never actually his ability to stop time. I mean, stopping time was just a trick. His true power, the one he cultivated and grew within himself over the years, was the conscious decision to make every single second count, to intentionally inject purpose and selflessness into the time he was naturally given.
And this brilliantly illustrates the ultimate takeaway for all of us, doesn't it? We don't have glowing glass bottles. We can't just pause the world to catch our breath or fix our mistakes. The clock is always ticking forward for us. But we actually all have the exact same power Ethan discovered at the very end of his journey. So I'm going to leave you with this question to reflect on. How will you use your seconds today to help someone else? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.